I think we've made a sort of fundamental mistake. We've over-militarized our counterterrorism effort.
Abraham Lincoln Bookshop. Think of us as Lincoln's Chicago address.
Just for signing, Serena in
Something
Ann Arbor.
really wonderful about a guy who's 57 who's joining the Guard. You know that? That's a really wonderful statement about patriotism and about what this country stands for.
And what he feels about the place that he lives in. Beth in Portland.
Yeah, but your question raises sort of three things. Okay, so first of all, on counterterrorism, I think we've made a sort of fundamental mistake. We've over-militarized our counterterrorism effort. The truth is that the best way to beat terrorism is to take it apart from the outside in and the bottom up. You've got to dry up the recruiting that comes into it, the funding, and the ideology. You've got to take away the source of the energy in the terrorist movement and isolate the leadership. You'll always have some people in this movement who, in any terrorist movement, who are life and death committed. Their whole identity is caught up in terrorism, but they'll be surrounded by people who are less and less caught up in it, who could go the other way. And you've got to isolate the hardcore. And then you've got to identify them, you've got to track them, you've got to bring them to justice. To me, I like to see them arrested and brought to trial. I want to see all these terrible things laid out for the public, the things they were planning to do, for the whole world. Because one of the real attacks that terrorism makes on Americans and any terrorist organization is attempt to destroy the legitimacy of the governmental system that it goes after. If you descend to the level of force that the terrorists themselves use, you will be delegitimated as a government. So the rule of law is critical in handling terrorists. That's why I'm opposed to what's going on Guantanamo. We should absolutely handle those people, not with military commissions, but with the rule of law. Put them in a civilian court, fix the rules of evidence, put a jury up there, let ordinary Americans say, you tried to kill us, and here's the evidence against you, and show it on TV. The whole world said, how shocking that these people think they're so arrogant and so bloodthirsty, and they would kill ordinary people. What possible justification is there for this? And then, you know, they'll get their just desserts. But do it publicly. Don't go hunt them down in Afghanistan and shoot them in the back or plug them with a telescopic rifle at 500 yards. That's not going to win this war for us. So that's the war on terrorism. The next war may or may not be a war on terrorism. I hear people saying that this is the Fourth World War, you know, that this is going to go on and on and on and on. We will if we respond as inappropriately as we've responded before. But there's 1 billion Muslims out there. They don't all hate us. Most of them don't support Osama bin Laden. And as far as the Arabs are concerned, they go with winners. They don't like losers. Osama bin Laden's starting to look a lot like a loser in the Arab world. They won't follow him. They'll be with us. What we have to do is look at the real challenges ahead. And hopefully they aren't challenges of a war. I think the real challenge for America, as I say in the book, is we're in a global age. We've got to compete globally. You can't rest on America's oceans and the strong borders with Mexico and Canada and say it's just all about us and we can isolate ourselves behind it. We have to have better education and health care and labor management relations and better use of technology and public-private partnerships and a real energy policy. And we've got to fix this infrastructure in this country. We've got a lot of work to do. One of my banker friends just landed he was in China doing investment banking. He landed in New York. He told me, he says, God, I was in these beautiful airports in China. I come back to JFK. He said, I feel like I've landed in a third world country. I mean, and that's not isolated. That's because we were first, but we've neglected our infrastructure in this country. And that's just a tiny example. So I think, you know, it's what Dwight D. Eisenhower said. He said our greatest strength is our economic power, not our military, our economic power. We're not going to be defeated by terrorists. And we don't need a war with anyone. What we need to do is have strategies that help nations work together to collectively solve their grievances. And then we need to strengthen ourselves at home to compete in the world economically so Americans in the future have the same promise and opportunities that we've had.
Here's one that just came in from Jared in Woodlands, Texas. We appreciate your email. This is the 50th anniversary of the Little Rock Nine.
Yeah.
Since you were in Little Rock when it happened, can you comment and describe your experiences? Did it influence your opinions on the uses of the military in domestic policy?
Well, I was, my experience was I was in the 8th grade. I wasn't at Central High School. As we were talking earlier, I think before the formal part of the program, I saw the beginning of white rage in the South, white resentment of being forced to live up to a standard that didn't originate there. And I saw the dissonance in values in people's homes and with your parents and so forth. But I think the military was used appropriately. Eisenhower sent in the 101st Airborne, and he enforced federal law, as indeed he should have. We just celebrated the 50th anniversary in Little Rock. We had a wonderful dinner, and the Little Rock Nine were there, and they were really impressive. They were some brave young men and women, I'll tell you, to do that, and they deserve a lot of credit for it. They helped America make an enormous step forward.